Rabbi or Rabbah, as you're called here, Tamar Elad Applebaum. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk with you. Maybe you could say a word or two of introduction about yourself before we launch into the conversation.
Shalom. First, I'm so happy to be speaking together this morning or this day. I was born here in Jerusalem, and I always say that people say Jerusalem has no ocean, no sea, but I feel it sits on the shore of the Sea of Faith. And I was born on the Sea of Faith. And I was raised here in a Moroccan family that comes from Casablanca. And in a family that on the other side, my mother's side, comes from the Holocaust. And I was raised in a very extremely traditional Orthodox family, never thinking that one day I'll be a rabbi. And I'm very, very in the mysterious ways and journey of God. I arrived to be a rabbi in Jerusalem, and today I'm the rabbi of a community called Zion, that has many, many interactions with other communities of faith in Jerusalem, and also standing in the head of a seminary for rabbis here in Jerusalem, together with friends, a seminary for Israeli rabbis all around Israel.
Thank you. So, I take it that now that Corona has struck, you're on holiday because you can't do anything. So I see lots of books in the background. I guess you're spending your time reading them all.
Actually, it's quite the opposite. My days are so full with voices of the people I love and I serve in my community. I feel that these days of the Corona are a moment in which they can be a shrinking of hope, of the feeling of solidarity. And one of the things I do more than anything else is build the infrastructure of solidarity within our community of Zion, which has many, many people who are by themselves in their house, and many families who are together with children, and each one of those things is a challenge. Many people living in Jerusalem who do not have food in their fridge, and many people who are asylum seekers who have nothing in their houses, have been losing their jobs in the past few days very, very swiftly, and have no medical insurance. And this is what I do all day from morning to morning, to tend those people and to see how a rabbi, more than anything else, is there to be with his people, with the people of God.
So what does it mean to build solidarity? Because one of our concerns really is the relationship between solidarity and the kind of self-imploding in the movement of protection that we're forced to do by going inward. So how do you uphold solidarity when you're forced to go into a closed space?
I'll even say very, very technically that we've created very quickly 4 ways of being together in the community. The first, and we call all of them in names, in Jewish names, but the first one is really creating, we call it Et Ledaber. It's buddies who call each other within the community every day to check and see how they are, to check and see if they feel unwell, if they need medicine, if they need money, if they need food, and just if they need a friend to be talking to. So each person in the community has a buddy who calls him, and we've organized it in a few days to make sure that no one stays alone and behind. It could be a mother who's now with her children by herself in the house, and she's a single mother, and she needs someone to talk to her every morning just to know that she's okay, or every evening. And it could be a person who lives by themselves, young or old. No one will stay behind. No one will stay by themselves. And each one who wants has a buddy. That's the first thing. The second thing is sort of broadcasting creation that we've created in a few days. We call it Et Lirpo, a time to heal, 3 times a day, just like we have 3 times a day prayers in the Jewish tradition. We broadcast to the whole community and to whoever wants to be with us. We start the morning with either prayer or singing or yoga or meditation, together with whoever wants to be. And afterwards, in the afternoon, we eat together and we learn Torah together, and we learn with scholars from all around Israel who teach us, and they come from different languages, different places, just to make sure that the medicine of the divine is brought forth by everyone, and we learn from everyone in this moment, and it brings solidarity between communities. The third thing is called et lachavuk, a time to
Embrace.
Embrace. Thank you. And we make sure that every person who might be unseen is seen. So people who need, as I said, medicine, groceries, things like this, we have a whole world of youngsters who just bring it to their door, who make sure they have what they need. Asylum seekers who don't have food right now for themselves, for their children. There's a group of young asylum seekers that we've been escorting and actually saving in the past 2 years. And we are now making sure that each one of them has insurance, medical insurance. And the last one is Time to Love, which is sort of morning birds that I send every morning to the whole community, just to make sure that we keep our faith above the water, that we make sure to see each other. And through that realm, we create prayers for all the community, such as a prayer that we had a week ago, where all the community gathered with all the other community and friends that we have in Jerusalem and in Israel, who come from Palestinian backgrounds, Jewish backgrounds, Israeli backgrounds, Christian backgrounds, Muslim backgrounds, and we prayed together for our families, for our world, for our human family, one human family.
Sounds like this corona is a good thing.
I don't know if it's a good thing. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to see beyond what does not matter and to see only what matters. You know, I'll give you an example. Many of the rabbis for a very long time of different denominations here in Israel really didn't work together for different reasons. It was very difficult. There are many obstacles on the way. And we've created a group of supporting the rabbis all around Israel with a wonderful foundation that took.
Now for the corona, you created a rabbinical support group?
Yeah.
What does the support group do? How does it work?
We meet once a week with 2 rabbis who are also therapists and supporters, and they support the rabbis who do such important work. And
What's the wear and tear on the rabbis during this period?
What's wear and tear?
Wear and tear means like the shchika.
It's great. I think it's very deep. It's very difficult, the wear and tear. A lot of worry. We worry for so many people that we love. You know, for a family to be now together, closed in a city, here in Jerusalem, losing their jobs, suddenly being fired, both of them, both parents. This is a terrible time. It could be terrible and difficult for couples. It could be difficult for children. It could be difficult for a person in his house by himself. There's so much worry, and every day it grows. And it's serious worry that's very tangible, that's very concrete. And on the other hand, just worry of people who feel by themselves. You know, there's the sickness and the malady of the corona, but together with it, there's a sickness, especially here in the city, of just feeling lonely. Many people feel lonely. And how do you reach out to these people? And of course, the answer is never the rabbi. The rabbi is only the person behind the scenes. The answer is how to create a whole infrastructure that sees all these people and tends to all of them wherever they are, whatever they need, together with other people, together with the partners within the community. So many rabbis right now are really full and filled with questions, with worry. Many of them halachic questions that come alongside all of these worries, religious kind of questions, and many of them worry because they know that they have to convince their community that right now they cannot pray as they're used to praying. So many different kinds of worry that have to do with safety, that have to do with religious questions, that have to do with faith questions, that have to do with psychological questions, that have to do with concrete questions. And the rabbi is not a psychologist, but he does and needs to be able to tend all these matters and to do it correctly in very, very limited time when he himself is with his family in his house. So many of the rabbis are doing that, and I have so much appreciation for all these people who stand at the head of many, many communities, and what they actually do is to stand at the back and just make sure that everyone is gathered, everyone is together, and push and never let go.
So this is just such a beautiful vision. Thank you for either driving it or in whatever way you're being instrumental for it. I want to just go a little bit, drill down a little bit about this question of the crises of the rabbis, of leadership. Even, of course, if you could speak first person, would be even better. So obviously, the rabbis need some psychological fortification, and they need advice for handling those situations. And twice a week, you have on the Zoom the experts that come and provide for that. What about that faith dimension? Do you see erosion of faith, doubt of faith, crisis of faith, either in the community or in the amongst the rabbis? And how do you heal the more properly religious side of it beyond the general psychological well-being and advice that emerge?
Actually, I see exactly the opposite. I think the more the rabbis are there and work, the more faith they have, the more they see the essence of faith and the essence of life and the essence of community and humanity. I feel that this group that we created, that was created, of the rabbis that we meet once a week, it's not psychological tendency to the rabbis. It's just a time to share and to be able to not only give but also receive, because we are humans like any other human. I think one of the most beautiful things is to see how much trust there is right now amongst the rabbis, and how much trust there is right now between the people in the communities who come together and who give so much attention. I think all the time that attention is like the biggest, most valuable thing we have right now. When you think about people with their phones with you, when you think about people in the Zoom, and the fact that beyond this attention, what you see, what is really being exemplar, is the attention for the human being next to you, no matter who he is, which religion he comes from, if he was in your community a minute ago or not, if this rabbi is from your denomination or not. There's a very broad attention that is now being revealed in Israel and in the world. And it's a moment of revelation. It's a moment of faith. I think if one of the biggest sicknesses of the world were boundaries, and serious questions about the differences between us, now the serious question is, how close can we be? And I think the answers very, very quickly are that we are coming forward to each other, and that we're recreating our ability to give attention to each other, which corrects much of the far away and the distance that we had before. So I want to say that I feel that there is a feeling that the attention of God in these moments, the attention of human beings to each other in these moments, are the remedy to so much of what we're going through.
Beautiful. This is just so inspiring, Tamar. I'm so grateful just to hear this. It opens my heart. If I stay on this point you just made now, so the things like this, we could be in isolation, and we're showing solidarity in all the ways you expressed, but now you actually you went beyond solidarity, and you really offered us an approach towards affirming our own interconnectivity, how we are united. And you said the remedy for that is attention. In other words, we live in a world where we lack attention, or we lack awareness, and that causes us to be separate. Corona forces us, or at least creates opportunities for us, to increase attention to one another, and thereby to increase our sense of interconnectedness. Like that?
Can mamash, exactly like that. One of the things that I'm afraid of in the world, in the modern world, is that the attention is very much to myself. People have the ability to live for themselves, with themselves. And one of the beautiful things that happen now in the Jewish world right now in Jerusalem with the Corona, is that suddenly you pay attention to every bird that comes to your window. You pay attention to every human being that comes to your door or writes to you. You pay attention to the air that's becoming warmer. You pay attention to the food that you have. You pay attention to the body that you have and that right now is healthy. You pay attention to someone else who feels unhealthy. And suddenly it's all delicate. Many times I feel that Eden, the word Eden, Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, in Hebrew, it really comes from gentleness. And a gentle attention is holy attention. That's the attention that God gave the earth and the stars and the birds and the human being at the very beginning and expected and wished for us to have to each other. And there's the tension of Eden, of the Garden of Eden right now in the world. It's an attention of all the people, the medical staffs that walk around. It's the attention of us to them and the prayer for them who hold all of us and support all of us and our sick people. It's the attention to other people around the planet. People in Israel read every morning and every afternoon and every evening about the people in Spain and in Italy and in China and in America. And we are all in gentle, holy attentivity to each other. I think this is a very, very, very delicate moment, and it's full of gentleness, human gentleness, and so it deepens our relationship with God, with the creation, with ourselves. It takes less and it gives more. It needs less and it wants to give more. And there's something very, very, very gentle about this moment, which I appreciate.
Wow. So let me ask, what could get in the way of that? I'm trying to think together with you. What could be the causes that undermine that? And from your perspective in your daily outreach to people multiple times a day, you would probably see it. I can think of several factors that could get in the way of maintaining that awareness for the connectivity, for the solidarity, for the gentle awareness. One is fear, because fear causes us to center in upon ourselves, and people are afraid in multiple ways. The second is potentially a sense of losing, so defensiveness and protectiveness, and maybe you can think of other things. So why don't we take a moment to think about what are the antidotes to those things that detract from that attention, and in what way can we offer people medicine? You said so beautifully earlier, et le rapé, time to heal. And what kind of medicines can we offer people in dealing with those obstacles? Let's spend a few moments talking about. We know what the vision is. You've portrayed both in your inspiring words and in your inspiring example. You've portrayed what the vision should be and where we should go. Now let's talk about the neutralizing the obstacles along the way. So let's talk about fear. Fear is a big one for preventing our attention. Are you seeing that in the field? Are you experiencing it from other people? How do you cope with it?
Yeah, first I want to say that fear and even trembling, I feel it. I feel it on myself. I was thinking a lot about David HaMelech, David the king in Psalms, who say, I'm fearful right now, and I'm trembling right now.
You know, when you say fear and trembling, do you mean like Kierkegaard, or do you mean like in a simple human sense?
In the most simple human sense, I'm trembling. Am I allowed to tremble in your world, God? I think it's a good question. And I can say about myself before anything that when it all started, and I'm trembling. I'm trembling for my parents. I'm trembling for all the aged people, teachers of the world, that the world needs so much. I'm trembling for the children who ask themselves, what does this mean? And many, many questions. And I think there are a few words like this in Tehillim and Psalms. Batzar irchavtali. When I was trembling, when I felt narrowed, when I felt fear, you enlarged and opened the door for me. But I want to say first, we're allowed to be afraid. It's important to be afraid. It's important to feel and not to stand against the fear and not to stand against the trembling, but to say the world of God has all of these above and inside it. And they're all important and they're all welcome. All the things that go through us are welcome. They're part of life. They're part of the world of God. And they're an important part because they're natural. It's also natural to fear. I think the question is, what are we able to do it? And it's very interesting because when I think about these words of Psalms, Batzar irchavtali, in the narrowness, you enlarged it to me. There's a beautiful teaching about it in the Jewish world, that in the narrowness, the way to open things is through breath, is through breathing. And one of the things I feel that we received from God is a body to be able to sit within it, to allow all the things to go through it, and to stay, to sit present, to be present, as God is present with us when it's dark and when it's sad, Not saying to us it's not dark and it's not sad, but saying to us, I am God and I am staying here next to you. And I will sit next to you as long as you allow me to. And I will stay and I will breathe with you. Every time Tamar, I breathe, I feel that God, when I exhale, I inhale into God. And when I inhale, God exhales into me. It's sort of a world in which God is the partner and we breathe together. And every time I'm afraid and I need to. So you ask me, what should we do with it? We should just sit with it and allow ourselves to be what we are right now in the world of God, because God sits with us wherever and whoever and however we are. And as long as we allow ourselves to do so, God allows himself to feel needed, to hold our hand and to breathe with us.
This is just moving. Just one clarification: how does the breath fit into the words of Batzar Hirchavta Li? Because you said this was a Jewish teaching, I'm missing one part of the connecting idea here.
It's beautiful. It's the Rabbi of Kuznets said it. The Rabbi of Kuznets said it. He said, the Maggid of Kuznets, he said that Batzar Chavtali is the blowing of the shofar, the Jewish shofar. The Jewish shofar starts very, very little. It starts narrow. There's the part of the deer, I don't know how you say this, the deer that's in your mouth, ram, thank you, that sits in your mouth, and it feels everything you are right now. And you think you're the one who makes the sound. And what you're actually making in the sound is you're saying, here's what I feel, God. I'm afraid. And God breathes back into you. It's not that you're the one doing everything. But when you say, I'm narrow, I'm afraid, God breathes back into you through the rachav, through the big parts. He breathes back through this pipe of the ram. And he says to you,
now I see
I'm
it.
Okay.
It's all Batzar Chaftari then becomes understood through the metaphor of the shofar and through that breath and sound and prayer. Beautiful. Good. So, okay, so that's fear. So fear is being with it, breathing God into it, and expanding in that narrow space. Beautiful.
Okay.
Let's move to another concern, which is that's.
And I want to say one more thing, and also voice. It's also about a voice. To have a voice in the world, to say, I am in the narrowness. I think one of the very, very important things that rabbis do and that leaders of all traditions and all religions and all faiths do is that they allow people to have a voice. When we come to prayer, it doesn't matter if it's through Zoom or through anything else, we ask people to come forth and let us, each one of us, hear their voice. You know, this past Shabbat evening, on Friday evening, on the way to the Sabbath, the community came together and there were people who just voiced something, who said Amen, who stood up in the mourner's prayer and cried. Many things are happening now, and each and every creature in the world of God has a voice. So that moment is very, very important. Religion is not about saying to everyone, everything is okay. No. Religion is about inviting everyone to be present in where they are right now in the world of God, to acknowledge that they are, to acknowledge that they're going through something, to acknowledge that it's them. They're not erased by religion. They're more present through religion, to voice what they go through and to blow that shofar, to blow that voice and make it present and heard with no words, before the words, before all words, and to allow God himself, itself, to come back and breathe into them. We are only mediators, and we have to be very, very important to take a step back and to allow God himself to do what only God can do.
You really, the rabbi is, in this metaphor, is the shofar itself, because it mediates the ability from the personal breath to the divine breath. So the rabbi is the shofar. Loss, protectiveness. We're losing. We defend ourselves. We grow narrow. How to maintain that gentle awareness in the face of loss and deprivation?
Well, first, I think once again that there could be no erasing of loss in the world of God. I cry a lot in these days, and I think it's very, very important to allow ourselves to cry. But one of the things I feel is that one of the big, the terrible sadnesses of this moment is that many people die now alone, by themselves. They die alone, they're buried alone. What can a person like me here in Israel do when someone dies alone? In the past days, people who have been Holocaust survivors have been dying here in Israel by themselves, buried by themselves, and all around the world, in Italy, in China, in Spain, in America. There's a beautiful teaching in the Jewish world that in the Zohar, in the Jewish mysticism, that on the heart, which is the place of the breath, which is the place of feeling and also healing, there are the lungs. And that the lungs are like wings. They sit on the heart as if they were wings. And they can open, and we can send them away to the people that we cannot reach, but we can feel and think of. I think much of the world, much of what was needed or is able in this moment in the world is mercy and kindness, and to be able not to let any creature die by himself or live by himself, but also die by himself. And so loss is a very serious thing. And the ability to breathe for them one last breath and send them our dove, as if it were on the waters of the flood of Noah's ark, to send it from our ark to any other place in the world, to allow this bird to sit on the shoulder of someone, on the bedside of someone, even in the last moments, and in the place where a person is buried right now. I think the power of imagination and the power of our breath and lungs and wings and doves is very, very important. One of the incredible things is that in Jewish tradition, the word emunah and the word Adam, human being, comes from the word dimyon, imagination. So a human being is able to cross all boundaries and to be there in that moment with another person. That's regarding that kind of a loss. But I want to say that there are other losses right now.
That. Adam Lashon Dimyon.
Dimyon.
That I understand. Rav Nachman says that. Others do. I don't exactly see the connection, the linguistics between emunah and dimyon. Did you suggest that?
No, Adam Lashon Dimyon. Adam Lashon Dimyon.
Okay. I misunderstood you. Okay.
But I wanted to also say something about another kind of loss. There's also a loss of, there's another loss right now of people who want to get married, of couples who are supposed to get married, and bar mitzvah kids who are supposed to have their ceremonies right now all around the world and in other faiths too. And one of the things that we really work on right now is, and I see it all around Israel, we're just a tiny, tiny part all around the world, is to see how people do not allow that feeling, that sense of loss to overcome them. And so I've been in so many celebrations now through Zoom or, as a neighbor, and the ability of people to overcome that and to say to a couple, you're not alone. Someone told me, or I don't remember if I was told or I read, that there was a couple who wanted to get married and they had to cancel everything they've been working on and waiting for such a long time. And eventually they created this tiny, 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 tiny wedding with them and the parents of one of the people from the couple in the garden of those parents. And suddenly, without even understanding how it happened, just with the kindness of people, all the neighbors understood what was happening, and they were coming outside of the windows and standing on the balconies. And there was an officer, a policewoman officer, who came to see that everything is okay and that it's not crossing any boundaries and that it's safe. It's a safe environment. And everyone was crying and shouting, and I'm crying now because they said to that couple, no, you did not lose anything, you gained. The president of the state of Israel said to all couples, Corona couples, that he personally is going to send them his blessing and write them a blessing. There's so many ways to overcome loss and to see what is. If it's as a neighbor coming out of your balcony, if it's as another person sending someone, if it's as an official who sees that moment. I see so much of the kindness of people being revealed in this moment, not allowing that loss to overcome us, but filling it with hearts that see, with eyes that see, with hands that do something, and with that voice that shouts, I'm here. You're not getting married alone. So I think that this moment is also, and that's what I wanted to say about emunah, about the word emunah, faith. The word emunah comes from emun, trust in this moment. Whatever comes in it, I will stay here in whatever I can. But the word emunah also comes from mi'un, to stand against something and to say, I will not allow that couple to get married alone. You're not alone. Mi'un. I'm standing now in, how do you say, afgana? In
demonstration.
Demonstration. I'm in a demonstration against loss. There's life here. There's a couple here. There's love here. They're creating their family here. And I am standing next to them from my balcony. That's emunah.
Wow. So what's the world going to look like tomorrow when Corona is over?
I don't know. No one knows. I think it's going to look what we're going to make out of it. I really, really don't know. One of the things in this time and moment in the world is that all of us are in the middle of life or in the end of life or at the beginning of life. We're all becoming students in history and students in the world of God. And we need to listen very, very carefully to what God is teaching us and what the universe and humanity is teaching us. Many times I feel that really prayer never starts from the mouth. It always starts from the ear. Many of the Hasidic masters and rabbis and teachers said that the ear is the place where healing starts, where medicine starts, the medicine of the world, the medicine of the heart. That's what enabled the people of Israel to receive the Torah and the sacred words of God, was that they listened. They said, let us just listen. I don't want to think I know. I just want to believe and hope and train myself to be a good listener right now in the world of God and to listen to what the universe is telling us. It's not only about human beings. What is the air telling us now? That it's suddenly so less polluted. What are the trees telling us now? The birds who have come out, the animals who have come out. What are we learning in this moment about what we have done to ourselves, to each other, and to the world? And what is God telling us? Because God is speaking always. So what is God telling us? I hope to be attentive enough and sensitive enough and believing enough to be listening, and also, as in the biggest, greatest revelation, not only by myself. I have my private listening to do, but I hope to be listening together with the whole human family, to be able to see. You know that in the Zohar, in the mystical traditions, there are different forms of relationships. There are relationships where you see the back of a person. There's a relationship with another person who sees your back. He's with your face to you, reaching out to you. Or you're with your face to him, reaching out to him, and he gives you his back. This moment is a very rare moment in which all of us, when I say give attention to each other, it means that we're all turning around from all the busyness that we had before. So much busyness, so much running, so much doing. And right now, all of us are just sitting in the being, in the human being, in the neshama, in the soul. And we're turning inwards to each other to see face to face, panim el panim, to see the inward forces, strengths that we have of the things that really matter, our kindness, the things that really matter, our faith, our trust, our attention. I think this is a moment of holiness. I just want to make sure to allow it to stay and to teach us in the kind, divine voice, whatever it wants to teach us. And I will listen. I hope we will listen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rabbi Tamar. Grateful.
Yeah.